It's finally over. Well, mostly over. Microsoft has won a major victory in its fight against Sony and the FTC to acquire Activision Blizzard. 2 weeks ago, there was a 5-day evidentiary injunction hearing which could have blocked the deal considerably, but Northern District of California Judge Jacqueline Scott Corley has denied the FTC's preliminary injunction request, meaning the Xbox maker can move forward with its plans to absorb Activision Blizzard King for $68.7 billion. Judge Corley's ruling is heavily redacted, but basically she stated her decision was because the FTC was unable to prove that the deal would ultimately harm consumers and marketplace competition. She wrote, "The FTC has not shown it is likely to succeed on its assertion the combined firm, Microsoft and Activision, will pull Call of Duty from Sony PlayStation, or that Microsoft's ownership of Activision content will substantially lessen competition in the video game library subscription and cloud gaming markets." Judge Corley added, "To the contrary, the record evidence points to more consumer access to Call of Duty and other Activision content. The motion for a preliminary injunction is therefore denied." To quickly recap how we got here, Sony's big objection to the acquisition was that Microsoft could make Call of Duty Xbox exclusive, and that would ultimately harm PlayStation gamers, obviously, but also the industry at large, preventing, I guess, other platforms from having access to Call of Duty. It's a little ironic coming from Sony and PlayStation, obviously, who have built an empire on first-party exclusives, but that's kind of the claim that they make. For some reason, the FTC based a large part of its case around Sony's stance, as well as UK regulators' belief that the deal could harm competition in the cloud gaming space. However, the FTC failed to prove either claim with substantial evidence. One of the big sticking points during the trial seemed to be that financially, Xbox would make substantially less money by removing Call of Duty from PlayStation, the market leader in console sales, and therefore the FTC couldn't prove Microsoft had any intentions or reasonable motive to remove Call of Duty from PlayStation consoles. Therefore, the whole argument kind of falls apart. There was even an expert witness who kind of analyzed the market for the FTC and said, this is how many gamers might switch to PlayStation, but there was a big back and forth about how substantial the evidence was, and when the expert witness was cross-examined, his kind of arguments really fell apart. But also, even if you took it at face value, even if there was a 3% difference in his estimations, then Microsoft would lose money basically by trying to make Call of Duty exclusive. The amount of people who would switch over to Xbox, but the revenue doesn't work out. In addition, leading up to the injunction hearing, Microsoft executives publicly stated multiple times that they had no plans to remove Call of Duty from PlayStation and had also been getting anyone and everyone they could to sign a 10-year Call of Duty guarantee contract, including Nintendo, Nvidia, and a few other cloud service providers. And that all seemed to be enough for Judge Corley. She wrote in her ruling, "After the merger, several of Microsoft's cloud streaming competitors will, for the first time, have access to this content. The merger will enhance, not lessen, competition in the cloud streaming market." Microsoft also argued in court that Call of Duty would be treated the same way as Minecraft post-acquisition, which has remained multi-platform and seen multiple releases on additional hardware. However, the FTC pointed to Microsoft's behavior with Bethesda titles, arguing Redfall and Starfield were made exclusive, so why not Call of Duty? Judge Corley addressed the point in her ruling, writing, "Neither Starfield nor Redfall are remotely similar to Call of Duty." Clearly, a lot of differences there between those three IPs. And again, it's wild to see the FTC take PlayStation's stance at face value and then just have so little to throw at Microsoft in terms of evidence, including PlayStation CEO Jim Ryan's own testimony, which stated that he actually didn't have a quarrel with exclusives. There were also emails from Ryan that revealed he himself didn't even believe Microsoft would try to make Call of Duty exclusive. So basically, the FTC went in with a losing hand. I think there are a lot of other points they could have brought to the table to make it more compelling argument over this merger acquisition, but here we are. Corley even called out the FTC, saying ultimately the proposed merger would perhaps be bad for Sony, but good for Call of Duty gamers and future gamers. The FTC now has until the end of Friday to successfully appeal California's court decision, but it usually doesn't in cases like this, and the success rate for such an appeal isn't high. Things are going to move pretty fast from here because if the deal isn't finished by July 18th, Microsoft will be forced to pay Activision Blizzard $3 billion additional for missing the original closing deadline, and a bunch of terms surrounding the deal will have to be renegotiated. Activision could even potentially walk away from the deal altogether, but that's likely not going to happen. What is likely going to happen is we will see this deal close in some form in the next few days. The FTC will likely still try and bust up the merger as a full antitrust trial is still scheduled to take place in August, but given the regulator lost the injunction hearing, it will be at a severe disadvantage with a lot less legal footing to argue in its case. All focus has now switched to the UK's Competition and Markets Authority, which previously blocked the deal, but after Judge Corley's ruling, the regulator has agreed to negotiate a resolution with Microsoft at the time of this recording, and according to CNBC, it looks like Microsoft and the CMA have agreed to a small divestiture, meaning post-acquisition, Microsoft will likely have to sell off some chunk of what they acquire in the Activision deal or some other part of their business. If nothing else, the reactions to Judge Corley's ruling have been entertaining. The console wars are thriving, to say the least. Throughout the entire day, some variation of Phil Spencer, the FTC, Judge Corley, Microsoft, Jim Ryan, and ponies, a derogatory term for Sony fans, has been trending on Twitter. Of course, executives from both Microsoft and Activision are doing a victory lap. Head of Microsoft Gaming, Phil Spencer, tweeted out, "We're grateful to the court for swiftly deciding in our favor. The evidence showed the Activision Blizzard deal is good for the industry, and the FTC's claims about console switching, multi-game subscription services, and cloud don't reflect the realities of the gaming market." Spencer added, "We know that players around the world have been watching this case closely, and I'm proud of our efforts to expand player access and choice through this journey." Activision Blizzard CCO and EVP of Corporate Affairs, Lulu Cheng Messerve, tweeted, "The legal system worked. A fair and neutral court has reached the correct conclusion about Activision Blizzard's merger with Microsoft based on facts and the law. The judge's ruling rejects the FTC's ideologically driven attempt to prevent a deal that benefits gamers and allows more competition instead of protecting the market leader." However, the FTC spokesperson Douglas Farrar obviously wasn't as thrilled. In a statement to PC Gamer, Farrar wrote, "We are disappointed in this outcome, given the clear threat this merger poses to open competition in cloud gaming, subscription services, and consoles. In the coming days, we'll be announcing our next step to continue our fight to preserve competition and protect consumers." Of course, be sure to let us know in the comments if you think justice was served. Either way, this is probably the last dedicated video we'll do on this subject for a while. That is, of course, unless there's a major shift in the direction, but this kind of looks like a sure thing at this point. We'll keep you updated for more video game news and updates and hopefully a lot less legal banter. Stay tuned right here to Inside Gaming.